Hello everyone and welcome to my bar. My name is Ansel Birch, the Indecisionist, and I will be your Dungeon Barkeep today. Now, I am no expert mixologist. Heck, I am tending bar in a cave, but I have an adventurous spirit and a willingness to try anything once. And that includes any cocktail. Now, we don't have a menu here, there's not a call list, but since you guys look like you've just come from a long adventure, I want to make sure that I can make you something refreshing. So I've got this set of gaming dice. What do you say? I will roll these up, use the dice rolls to decide what goes into a cocktail, and I'll try it. And if it's any good, I'll recommend it to you. What do you say? Sound like a plan? Excellent. Well, then let's go ahead and get started. I'll start with a D4, and that's going to choose one of the essential things that should go into any cocktail. That's a 1, so we're going to put a liqueur or creme into today's cocktail. Next up, we'll go ahead and pick a garnish. You got to have something to keep it fun, right? All right, a 5, sugared rim. All right, cool. But what liqueur or creme should we go with? Let's see. 4 is going to give us creme de cocoa. All right. Creme de cocoa and a sugared rim. This is shaping up to be something exciting. I'm here for this. But what should we put into this cocktail? Let's go ahead and roll a D10 to choose a liquor. That's a 9. Vodka. All right, so vodka, creme de cocoa, and a sugared rim. This is gonna be delicious. Very sweet, very desserty. But just to prove to you that I might be able to make it something other than a sugar bomb, let's take a look at this list of bar terms. I'll give myself a little pop quiz on bar terminology. Here we go. That's an 11. Neat. Neat means that you're going to serve it usually an unmixed liquor with no ice or garnishes. You just want a glass with liquor in it. I think in this case what that means is that we can't do neat because our garnish is an alteration to the glass. So what we are going to be doing today is not neat. But generally speaking, oddly enough, as somebody who makes cocktails on the internet, I prefer my whiskey neat. Just whiskey in a glass and leave it there. So that is what neat means. We aren't going to be able to apply it to today's cocktail, but I still think it's a perfectly good bar term for everybody to know. And finally, before we make this cocktail, we have to know what to call it. That way we can be mad at it and shout its middle name. So here is a list of names suggested by people just like you online. And if you would like to be one of those people just like you, well, you can. Head on over to indecisionist.com/dungeonbarkeep, where you'll find a link to the form to submit any nerdy cocktail names you would like. And they will end up on the list and eventually become a part of these names over here. So let's go ahead and roll a d20 to pick a name off of that list. We've got 11. That means Mead for speed. No, obviously what we are making is not mead. It's not even close to mead, but maybe it's close enough. I mean, it's gonna be sweet, it's gonna be boozy, it's gonna be nothing like mead in any way, but who knows? Maybe in this world, that's how mead is made, or mead tastes something like this. Maybe they've got different bees in that universe. Anyway, let's put together a mead to speed over on the bar top cam and see how it comes together. All right, this cocktail is pretty simple, so we're just gonna make it in a mixing glass. It doesn't have anything that calls for shaking, so we'll just start with a few d6 of cold damage. We're gonna do we're gonna do 2 ounces of creme de cocoa, just because that is our dominant flavor. That's where most of this cocktail is gonna be based. And that's a very sweet, chocolatey liqueur. Next up is our vodka. We're gonna do another 2 ounces of that. And according to our recipe, that's it. So we'll just give it a stir. This is going to chill it down. All right, the mixing glass is nice and cold. So I've got a prepared sugar-rimmed glass here. We'll just go ahead and strain this in. And purely for the sake of presentation, we'll add some maraschino cherries to this. Pretty full. But how does it taste? That is more complicated than I was expecting it to be. Wow. Okay. So I think part of what's complicating this is that there is a light citrusy note coming from the sugared rim. I used lime to wet the rim to get the sugar to stick. The sugar hypothetically has like a light lime flavor to it, and I think a little bit of that is informing the the flavors of this cocktail. I think if I had it to do it again, I might actually use an orange to sugar the rim, and I think that I wasn't expecting it to inform the flavor at all. I really wasn't. But now that I know it does, now that I know there's enough room in the flavor profile of this cocktail to include the flavors from the rim, I think if I rimmed it with orange, or if I used an orange to prep the rim, and then I used a neutral sugar, I think I'd be farther along. But that said, this is not a mark against it. So far, delightful. Just sort of a weird first note for it to have. Okay, now that flavor isn't quite as aggressive on this second sip, I mean, it's just a very basic chocolatini is what it is. Like, that chocolate flavor is dominant, undeniable, present, 100% what's going on here. Like, there's no getting around that this is a chocolate drink. Like, the vodka's not contributing a whole lot because that's what vodka does. It proofed up the cocktail, it made that creme de cocoa, which is a very low proof. Cremes are just alcoholic and sugary enough to make sure that they have long-term shelf stability. That's primarily their function. So by adding the vodka, we've made it more boozy. But really, we're not changing the flavor profile in any significant way. I'd say the biggest contributor is the cherries. I think the scent of the cherries under my nose is informing the experience. Like, that first drink was very sweet, and I think that was part of it, even though I didn't pick it out. And now that I'm not complicated by quite so much of the rimming sugar and the lime oils, I'm picking up on that cherry as well, which is just making it a deeper, richer experience. But it's still undeniably, this is a very basic chocolatini. Yeah. If you let it rest on your tongue, it's just I don't know. It's got a Cadbury sort of sense to it. It's definitely a more silky chocolate. It's a more I don't know, higher quality chocolate. It's got more of that cocoa-ness to it rather than the, like, I don't know, waxy sort of chocolate flavor of like a Hershey's. Which, don't get me wrong, I love it. It's just a different thing. Yeah, I think that this just wants something else. Like, this is a great template onto which you could put some Cointreau. You could float some Cointreau on the top. That'd be beautiful. You could lean in on the maraschino. I know that wasn't something that we rolled, but you could, as an alteration, put some more of the syrup from the cherries into this and let that inform it. Or if you go ahead and get maraschino liqueur, you could add some cherry to that. I could see grenadine being good in this. I could see like adding some pomegranate flavor to this. Some of that red like berry, something berry-y. I think would improve this, or would give it a fighting chance at being, more delicious. It's good. It's just kind of boring. So yeah. Is it anything like Mead? Being that it's called Mead for speed. I think its sweetness is tempered a little bit by the vodka. It has a similar sweetness to many meads, like obviously a sweeter mead, but it wouldn't be out of the realm of a sweet mead on that scale. As for any other mead-like properties, not really. Like, it's boozy and sweet, and that's about all the comparison I can possibly give that would bring the two things together. It doesn't have any of that characteristic mead, honeyness or sharpness or dryness. Meads are really good for a lot of those things, and this just doesn't deliver on any of that. But if you think of mead as like a descriptor of alcoholic drinks in general, maybe this is the mead, the alcoholic drink, that you use for speed. Which takes us to where this would fit in an adventuring campaign. And honestly, I'm a little bit at a loss. I did write an adventure a little while ago called Irresponsible Speeds for my setting, Raptor's Peak. And in that one, the adventurers discover that as a tourist attraction, there is a group that is trying to build a basically like bobsled run style ride for visitors to Raptor Peak. And over the course of this, they of course discover that this is wildly unsafe. It's not been completed. There are problems, and the whole thing becomes sort of a the rules of it were designed so that we could use the mechanics from Crash Pandas, which is an amazing game by Grant Howitt. Highly recommend. You play as raccoons driving a car in a street race. Fabulous. Anyway, all this to say that I could see a drink like this being served at the lodge where our players boarded the bobsleds as they were told, oh yeah, well, they were still figuring some stuff out, and then and they go, right? And the whole idea of that game was that they discover things as they go. They have to solve these problems while the cart is still in motion, stuff like that. So I think this is the cocktail that like sets you up. It's not going to be completely thematically in line with that. Like, it's not tipping anything off. It's not giving you any indication. But it is something that would make sense in a tourist lodge on the top of a mountain where you're on vacation, you're trying to be a little decadent, it's cold outside, it's got this sort of holiday vibe, so a chocolate drink is totally something that makes sense in that context. And selfishly, I think that this would be perfect for Raptor Peak Irresponsible Speeds, which I don't mind telling the 8 of you who watch these on YouTube that I am working on publishing. So if you keep an eye on indecisionist.com or Indecisionist on Twitter or at The Indecisionist on Instagram, I will be posting more about that project as we get closer to it. I'm already talking with a bunch of amazing artists. I've got a fair amount of the book already written. So I'm very excited to be working on that and having it out to you soon. And there are new Raptors Peak episodes, Raptors Peak Adventures, every month at TTRPG Pickup Con. And this coming weekend is sign-up day for TTRPG Pickup Con 24, the July edition. We have dozens of games from loads of great game runners. It's totally free and open to players of all experience levels. So absolutely check it out. TTRPGPickupCon.com. The link is in the doobly-doo. You can also get to it from my main website, Indecisionist.com. And if you want to learn more about Dungeon Barkeep, you'll just Indecisionist.com/Dungeon Barkeep. Links, again, in the doobly-doo down below. But until next time, friends, drink adventurously.